Okay, we're recording. So, Mr. Vic, let's look at SPY from yesterday. Because, it was a tougher day to trade, but in retrospect, I mean, there's a lot of lessons we can learn from there and, take some better trades next time. So we can see you're at the open. So this is
Rick, are you sharing your screen?
oh, you're not seeing it?
No, no one's seeing the screen yet.
Oh, well, thanks for letting me know. Screen share. How about now?
There we go.
Oh, good, good. Thanks. Yeah, at least it would have been in the recording, so that's good. Okay, so when we look at the open, obviously we started off with a bang, nice call signal. We're above the VWAP, okay, and we have nice, decent sized candles, a little bit of chop, but this call signal here at 944 was good. We obviously had a call signal here and then we dropped a little bit. So if you got in here on the call signal, um, you might have stopped out. But here we always say, let the opening settle a little bit. So if you took it here, then obviously you might have stopped out. And then you might be afraid to get back in. But right here, we get a nice bounce on the VWAP. So this call signal here at 944 is really good. We're above the pre-market high. We're above the VWAP. Obviously, we're above the EMA clouds, and we keep running. And then now the important thing is we know from experience that we want to lock in profits before going into 10 a.m. So if you stuck to that rule, whether you're going to lock in everything or most of it, you should have been fine on this trade up here. Okay, so now it's 10 o'clock, so open range is starting to build. So we got a little bit of drop, we go up, and here is where things get interesting, because when you look at this, um, obviously the indicator is saying be careful, lock in some profits if you're still in with that exclamation point. So if you listen to that, that helped you as well. But now we get a blue triangle, okay? And then if you look at that same spot on the lower band, you can see we very quickly get a lower red band. So obviously that's bearish. So that's whether you're gonna play that as puts um, or just get out of your calls so that you're not in calls. So when you're in calls and you see the lower band change color, that's time to get out, okay? Because that trade is over. And so you should have taken most of the profits into 10 a.m. and then this exclamation point at the top told you to take more profit, and then the X says, okay, time to be out. So whether you listened to the exclamation point or not, the blue triangle then says, okay, trend is changing. So the indicator really picked it up very quickly, and now we break below the open range high. So now when we're in between the open range high and low, that's that's a little bit of a chop zone, okay? But we fall right through it. We got the red lower band, we got a blue triangle. So you could have got into puts, but that was, pretty much a quick play. If you got into puts quick enough, the question always when we get into another trade, what's your next obstacle? And that would have been a VWAP. So you would have taken partial profit when you approached VWAP, and you can see that we went through it, came back up to VWAP, and tested it. So those are really good plays when we test VWAP or any level from the other side, and then we reject. So we go through it, we go up, reject, go down. So that's right there. You see a very good indication of, okay, we're rejecting VWAP, so we're going to keep going down. And so you can stay in this trade until the lower bar, so this is red, so you could stay in it until the lower band is not red anymore. But you could also see here there's a very quick and harsh rejection. So this is clearly a failed breakdown. And if you've read Mancini's strategy, then he will tell you he loves failed breakdowns. So when there's a failed breakdown, or a failed um, break to the upper side, those are good for playing, that counter trend. So it's going down, it fails that breakdown, it goes back up. These X's are the line in the sand. So we get back up, failed rejection, we get back up above the open range low. Now we got the triangle, okay, but now we get a little bit of chop. So you play this triangle. Well, if you did, you're gonna be in a little bit of red, but eventually, obviously it worked out. But what we want to look for is the consolidation. So you can see here we have some consolidation, and it's looking good. So it's building up a base. It's basing over there. We get a call signal here above the VWAP, goes up, comes down. So it tests VWAP from the other side. Okay, it doesn't bounce up. It goes through it again. So now we get another call signal, but it's still very choppy. But what we see here is more basing above the VWAP. So this, if you were patient enough to wait, this gives you a much better indication that we're basing above the VWAP. We got the first call signal after that basing. So here we have a little bit, it's not as tight. But these over here is a nice tight range. It's above the VWAP. We get the call signal. Now, obviously, the other thing too is we have, if we assume a range stay until there's a clear trend confirmed. So you can see we start here, we go up, we touch. Obviously, we stay a little bit above the upper band. It looks like we may go into a trend. We fall down, failed breakdown. So now we're bouncing off the lower band. So we finally get some nice consolidation above the VWAP. We get a call signal just above it. We go up. So now in our mind, we know that we're still in mean reversion. So your first target that you want to take profit is as soon as you get to the upper band. So you get there, you touch the upper band. Actually, on this candle, you can take partial profits. Upper line is still green, so you can say, okay, I can hold on a little bit longer, but then the green goes away. We got the counter trend rectangles. And so now we want to consider caution. So whether you stay in or you take most of it off at this point, that gives you the clue. Now if we go in and let's do a playback so we can just see what the indicators were telling us for the higher time frame at that point. You can see at this point everything looked really bullish still. Okay, so 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, obviously a little bit higher wasn't as green, but so everything bright green. We have super trend going on multiple time frames. So there's enough there that tells us that we're still good. There's more possible upside. So I'm just gonna do the playback now. Obviously, we come back a little bit, and now at this point, you can see that obviously on the 1 minute it's not as green anymore. But when you look at this overall, we're still above the green yellow cloud. So this, you know, is still saying, it's bullish. So if you get another call signal, you could play that to the upside. Obviously, it's choppy, so you want to stay smaller. But we're bouncing around a little bit. We get a call signal. You can get in, and you can see the lower time frames are cleaned up. So you can see we've fixed a lot of this, and so you just keep your eye on that, and then decide. Okay, again, touch the upper band, so take a little bit of profit, and then you just let it go. Obviously, we're not in a strong trend where we stay outside of the outer band, the upper band. So you don't want to overstay your welcome, and make sure you take your profits. But yeah, I mean, so it was definitely a tough day to trade, but there were enough clues in the indicator that told us to get out, be safe. You can see the lower red band here. But at this point, it just gets chopped because, we're still inside of the open range. We're trying to poke above it. And then we fall back into it. So it's just not where you want to play, because that's where you're going to get chopped. Any questions, Vic, or anything you want to add?
No, that's a great summary of how the day went. Just the only question I would have is, when you're getting into that choppy mode, what are you doing when it's chopping around? How are you viewing the market? You're getting those signals where the trend is changing pretty quickly, from down to up to down to up.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
are you playing those moments? Are you out of the market at that point if it's following still the general trend?
no, I mean, I think, I mean, so the key thing is, when you're in a range day, it's so important. I know it's always important, but it's more so on a range day. When you're on the bottom band, okay, like right here at the 227, you're not gonna get bearish. Okay, so you're not gonna say here, okay, so we got a lot of red lower band. It looks like we're gonna break down. We're gonna, okay, and sometimes we have where we just broke down and we just kept running and running and running and running. And so occasionally that happens, but that's very rare. So the more likely scenario is where you get to the bottom band, and then you want to get ready to play calls. So as soon as you get any indication, so you're above the VWAP, we have a green, yellow triangle. It's important. So it's important not to get puts when you're at the bottom, okay? And when you're at the top, you don't want to get calls either, okay? So that's important to remember if you're gonna play it. I mean, if you're gonna sit out because it's too choppy, then that's fine. But if you're gonna get in, make sure you don't play the wrong thing. Don't get bearish at the bottom. Don't get bullish at the top. So sometimes it's more important to know what not to trade. And so if you at least have that rule in your back pocket, where like we're in a range day, It's choppy. It's unlikely that we're gonna get into a trend. I mean, anything can happen, but it's all about playing the odds. And so looking at the stats, so when you're at the bottom band, close to VWAP, what's a more likely outcome? Going down through this lower band and just keep going, or going up. And it's knowing it's a mean reversion day, you should know what odds are more in your favor. So I think that can help as well. So obviously, if you got here and you got puts thinking it's going to go to a lower band, then hopefully you took some of your profit around here, because on these days, so you only want to keep runners when you're in a trend. If there's no trend, then there's no runners. So it's see money, take money. But again, if you're at the top of the band, you don't want to get into calls. It may work, but your chances of mean reverting to the VWAP or to the other band, it's a much safer play. And then stay small. That's the other thing when it's a choppy day, because I mean, um, when you're wrong, you want to minimize those damages. You don't want to overtrade. Um, so yeah, it was definitely a tough day to trade, but the indicator did a great job of telling you to get out of these calls. Because I know that most of us were playing calls here in the morning based on you know not only this signal but also Ripsters telling us, okay, everything's bearish now, sorry, bullish now, and I think most of us got into calls. And if you stuck to the rules, took your profit at 10 a.m., get out when the lower band gets red, you should have. This was a great trade, and you could have been done at this point and say, okay, thank you very much. But I know Mancini love failed breakdowns and breakouts. Okay, so here was another great trade, somewhere in here. So you could get aggressive and get into calls as soon as you see this failed breakdown, and go through some chop. Or the better place would have been to wait for this consolidation, right here, and then reacting to the first call signal after the consolidation above the VWAP.
Was there news at 10:15, or was that just the 10 o'clock reversal that happened, or was there some significant news that caused the market?
There was no news. Actually, what happened was that the VWAP spiked at that point, and so that's Webster was looking around, and that's the only thing he could find. So I mean, if we're gonna look at, the VWAP was so low to begin with. Sorry, the VIX was so low to begin with that you didn't think that should have caused all of that. Let's see. Okay, so now we just have to go back here. But yeah, so if you look at this, you can see the VIX falling down and then spiking right here. So that's the only thing we got.
What happened to Apple?
And let's take a look. So we're gonna take Apple. So Apple did not fall as much. So you can see obviously they dropped a little bit, but they retained the VWAP, and then they kept going higher. It was actually a strong day for Apple. So this was obviously an easier play. but yeah, so Apple was strong, so that helped as well. Um, let's see what Nvidia did at the same time.
Let's see for a reaction.
Yeah.
And while we've been talking, we looked at the SPY block. Nice trend change.
Yeah, let's see.
Today.
So we're okay. We need to look by. Yeah, so we have. So that's a 10-minute chart. So we have down here on SPY at 12:45. We have a tweezer bottom, and again, we like to play. It's a range day, so we're at the bottom band.
That's good to play from band to band.
That's right. So we have a tweezer bottom, so you can play that up. So you can see. So we start off here, we go up, we go down, we go up to the VWAP, we go down. So our next target is, let's see, open, previous high, and then we have VWAP. So obviously, there's quite a few possible targets. So your range is not that great. So so not worth playing. But let's look at the 2-minute chart for VIX here. So VIX at the bottom, and then SPY at the top. So you can see VIX telling the story still. Even though it's below 15, and usually when it's this low, it doesn't have a big impact. Obviously, it still does, because we saw that yesterday, we see it today as well. So we want to keep watching VIX, even though it's relatively low. But yeah, so on the indicator, you had yellow triangle here, breaking above the close.
And a call signal.
Yep, whole signal right there. We're above the pre-market low. So yeah, I think so. So it looks like we want to keep watching VIX here to tell the story. You can. I know for some people it's a little bit hard, but you can go for somewhere where you can say. I forgot where it is. You can say. There's a place somewhere you can say to do the scale opposite direction. Do you remember where that is?
Which one?
Um, let me just see. So actually, let me quickly see if I can find that. So have paste chart somewhere. Where's the setting where you go? I think it's here it is. Um, invert scale. You see this? So you click on this little gear icon down there. You can click on invert scale, and then basically it reverses the scale. So now VIX will go in the same direction as Y when you invert the scale. So that might be a little bit easier for some people to read. I don't know. Just remember you're doing it. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording and then we can keep looking.